This story captures the complexities of friendship, betrayal, and redemption, with each character finding their way through their personal struggles. The story of the five friends, sometimes, friendships are built on secrets, unspoken rules, and shared dreams. But when those secrets begin to unravel, the foundation of even the strongest bonds can be shaken. We all have our demons, Zainab said, looking at the reflection of her four friends in the mirror. The question is, how long can we keep pretending that they don't exist, the sisterhood? Abuja was a city of dreams, a place where the sun always seemed to shine a little brighter. For Zainab, Ada, Aisha, Ifeoma, and Amaka, the city wasn't just home. It was where their stories intertwined. They met in university, five young women brought together by fate, ambition, and the thrill of a future yet to be written. Their bond was like that of sisters. They laughed together, cried together, and built each other up through life's ups and downs. Each had her own dreams. Zainab, the strong-willed leader, aimed to become a successful businesswoman. Ada, the free spirit, wanted to travel the world. Aisha, the quiet and reserved one, longed for a family. Ifeoma, the ambitious one, aspired to become a top lawyer. And Amaka, the romantic, dreamed of the perfect marriage. But amidst their laughter and late-night talks, they shared something else, a silent pact they had made long ago. The first betrayal started with Zainab's engagement to Femi. Femi was everything she had ever dreamed of. Successful, charming, and deeply in love with her. As the wedding day approached, her friends celebrated with her, throwing parties and toasting to her future happiness. But in the shadows, something else was brewing. One evening, Ada visited Femi's apartment, saying she had something important to discuss about Zainab's surprise bridal shower. It began as an innocent chat, but soon shifted to flirtatious banter. Before she knew it, Ada found herself wrapped in Femi's arms. And what started as a moment of curiosity quickly became a night of passion. As she walked out of his apartment, guilt gnawed at her, but excitement surged within her veins. Soon after, Ifeoma and Amaka followed suit, each finding themselves drawn to the forbidden. It wasn't about taking Femi from Zainab. For them, it was about the thrill, the rush of adrenaline, and the unspoken understanding that their friendship was more than what the world saw. They shared everything, after all, even the men in their lives. The truth unfolds. It wasn't long before Zainab began to suspect something was off. The knowing glances, the whispered conversations, the subtle changes in behavior, she could feel the shift. One night, unable to sleep, she picked up Ada's phone, lying carelessly on her living room table. What she saw shattered her heart. Messages, pictures, confessions between her best friends and her fiancé. Why? She asked the next day, her voice barely a whisper as they sat in their favorite cafe. Why would you do this to me? Ada, Aisha, Ifeoma, and Amaka sat in stunned silence. No one had expected Zainab to find out. After a long pause, Ada spoke up. It wasn't about hurting you, Zainab. It was never about that. We just needed to know if he was good enough for you. And sleeping with him was the way to find out? Zainab's voice cracked with disbelief. Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? Breaking point. Their friendship became strained, but like all things that refused to break completely, they stayed together, holding on to what was left of their bond. They tried to rebuild, to make amends, but the cracks were showing. When Aisha got engaged a year later, the unspoken tension returned. This time, she put her foot down, issuing a warning to the others. This one is mine. Please don't make the same mistake again. Yet, old habits die hard. Ifeoma and Amaka, still curious, still craving the thrill, couldn't resist. They crossed that line once more, and this time there was no hiding. Aisha found out, and in her heartbreak, she made a decision that would change everything. On a warm evening in December, the five friends gathered for what would be the last time. Aisha stood up, her voice steady. We've let our desires ruin everything we've built. We keep saying it's about fun, about testing these men, but the truth is, we're tearing each other apart. Then why do we keep doing it? Amaka asked, tears brimming in her eyes. Because we're afraid, Zainab answered. Afraid that we're not good enough, that we'll be left behind, that if we don't take what we can, we'll end up with nothing. They sat in silence, the weight of their actions pressing down on them. For the first time, they truly looked at each other, not as friends, but as flawed human beings desperately trying to fill the voids in their lives. The path forward. That night, they made a vow. A real vow, not the silent, unspoken one that had brought them to this point. They promised to be honest, to lift each other up, and to finally let go of the toxic patterns that had defined their lives for so long. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. But slowly, they began to rebuild, not just their friendships, but their individual lives. Zainab moved on, finding a love that valued her. Ada went on to travel, discovering that her heart wasn't meant to be tied down. Ifeoma became the top lawyer she always dreamed of, and Aisha found her happiness in a partner who truly saw her. Amaka, the romantic, learned that the greatest love story she would ever write was her own. The power of forgiveness. Years later, as they gathered once more in that same cafe, they laughed and talked like they did before. The scars were still there, but they were reminders of how far they had come. Who would have thought we'd make it this far? Ada said, raising her glass. We always do, Zainab replied with a smile. We just needed to find our way back. And as they clinked their glasses together, they knew that this time their bond was unbreakable.